You're a busy professional. You don't have time for fluff. You need strategies that work, and you need them fast. Welcome to Busy Pro Fast Wellness with me, your host, Alan Welsh. We're here to give you science-backed hacks and actionable tips to boost your focus, minimize friction, and maximize your results.
Pressure is really the brain reminding you that you are not in this moment. People think that confidence is a feeling. It's not. It's a
Hello and welcome to Busy Pro Fast Wellness. Today's guest is Sandy Cohan. He is an elite mindset coach, speaker, and creator of Flip the Switch and the Mental Edge Blueprint. And after working with the NHL, which is, for those not in the US, it is the National Hockey League, and the NCAA, which is the National Collegiate Athletics Association, as well as other high-level athletes, Sandy now helps performers from the locker room to the boardroom to train their mind for pressure, focus, and confidence. Now, if you've ever struggled to stay sharp when it matters most, this episode is definitely for you. Welcome to the podcast, Sandy. I trust that you are in fine fettle, my man.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Very, very happy to be here.
Great. It was very good. Just to briefly speak, if anybody's not watching the video now, and I think I've got permission to say this, Sandy's like a good-looking Jason Statham. That's how.
I've been called worse. Let's put it that way. I've been called worse.
No, it's great.
Very kind. Very kind.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the things that I'm genuinely, and I know that all podcasters say that, I really want to know this, but I actually do, because this is about something which is dear to my heart. We're talking about performing. I'm a trumpet player, and I've had trouble with nerves in the past as a classical player. So, you talk about confidence. It's a choice, and that's not a feeling. What does that actually look like mid-afternoon on a stressful work day for a busy pro, for example?
I think the first thing that a lot of high performers, mostly for me, it started off, I was an athlete, so I spent a lot of time around athletes. But, I think a lot of people are chasing the concept of feeling confident when that's a very, very hard thing to do right out of the gate. A much easier way to go about ending up there is chasing this concept of belief. Someone a long time ago told me this. I wish I had come up with it. I didn't. But they said, imagine a tree outside, and what you see above ground, that's confidence. What you don't see below ground, that's belief. So in that example of the tree, right? No roots, no tree, no belief, no confidence. So for many, many people, the concept of going out there and trying to kind of snap their fingers and feel confident, a very easy way to end up in that place is to tap into belief, a time when you have done it before. Make it very, very vivid in your mind. And for most people, I can get them into that state in 10 to 20 seconds of feeling confident.
Oh, that's great. And it's such a good analogy as well, having that tree. So in that case, well, how would you go about doing that then? Getting them into that state, if you can, muster up that confidence. Yeah.
So, and you mentioned something, nerves. You've said a couple of the keywords that I spend a lot of time with: nerves, pressure. And I think it's important to kind of peel back the layers a little bit about those. First of all, this concept that nerves, somewhere along the line, we have all equated nerves to be a negative thing. When in actuality, maybe it's just having emotions about things that have not happened yet. It seems perfectly normal, right? Like, why wouldn't we have an emotion about playing in a concert in front of whatever, 5,000 people, if it hasn't happened yet, right? So sometimes the mind, I think the brain jumps a little bit and starts to say, well, because there is emotion involved, that must mean it's negative. So nerves are not bad. This concept, though, of pressure, which everybody feels, athletes, everybody, we're just humans. More times than not, the concept of feeling the pressure is your brain telling you that you are playing out the tape. You are not right here, right now. You are 5 minutes from now. You're kind of in that game, the what ifs. What if it doesn't work out? What are people going to think? The what ifs,
Yeah.
right? So we're not fully present. We could be in a practice yesterday. We could be in a bad performance yesterday, or we could be somewhere off in the future. But that concept of pressure being almost insurmountable to most is really the brain reminding you that you are not currently in this moment. You are somewhere else, and you are thinking about consequences probably rather than the situation.
Right. Yeah. So in that situation, I mean, what really separates those people, for example, who perform well in practice, and how would you then take that? Before you know damn
Yep.
well that you can do it well in practice, you feel great, but then you kind of feel those emotions under pressure. What separates those two factions of people?
Yep. So, and you mentioned another word at the beginning. If someone says, "What do you do?" to me, I say essentially that I'm a mindset development coach, right? And I don't say mental performance. There's nothing wrong with anybody that says that. That never resonated with me because I think the insinuation when you hear that word mental that there is something wrong with you or you are broken. And
Yeah.
I do not work with broken people. Um, I think mindset is at the foundation of everything,
Yeah.
everything, right? So mindset is the foundation of the building. I don't care what your job is, what your role is, whatever you're trying to achieve. If that foundation of the building is not strong, nothing that you try to stack on top of that is relevant. So the big seven for me in that mindset world, it's belief, attitude, and grit,
Mm.
focus, emotional control, discipline, self-awareness.
Yeah.
And what sits at like the center of all of those within the mindset world is that word focus.
Right.
And I don't know why anybody would know how to do it unless taught or shown. I certainly didn't when I was younger. But if you ask people more times than not, what does it mean to be focused, or you encourage them to focus, what most humans do is they try to block things out rather than locking in. So for many, many people who maybe succumb to pressure or nerves,
Mm.
really in your brain, you do not need to carry the burden anymore of trying to block things out, right?
Right.
Like the don't do's, the don't think abouts. That's not how your brain works.
Okay.
Just focus on the lock in, one or two things, lock it in, keep it narrow.
Yep.
That's where
Okay.
the focus should be.
That's so good to hear, because one of the things that I've noticed, and probably in the last couple of years, is on that very topic of focus. Because one of the buzzwords that's bandied around these days is getting into that laser focus state. We've all heard it from those productivity gurus around get into the laser
Yep.
focus, etc. But I did a course a couple of years ago with I wanted to improve my jazz playing on the trumpet, so I did a course, and this is something that the tutor on the course talked about a lot. Of you've only got 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You really want to maximize that time. You want to be focused. You can practice, or you can do laser focused practice. And I know
That's
that
right.
it makes such a difference. And I've done that not as because sometimes you're feeling tired. You just want to get the trumpet out and put on some backing tracks and play along with the jazz. But if you actually get those chromatic enclosures and you really work at those bits that you have to, those bars over and over again, you are focusing in, you are honing in. So I'm really pleased you mentioned focus as being one of those important elements of those seven.
It's the number one, and I mean you what you said absolutely. I mean, you said so many good things. I say this to anybody and everybody who would listen, whether it's a CEO, an athlete, a professional athlete, whatever. I'm a humongous proponent of preparation, practice, all of those things.
Yeah.
What I know to be true, though, is before anybody tries to tell me or certainly themselves that they should be doing more, I always challenge them. Why not do what you're doing, but do it better? Right. So
Yeah.
I have no idea, right? For I mean, pick your sport or pick your instrument, whatever it is, the concept of practice. But we're human beings. How many of us are truly 100% present in the minutia of the details, the discipline, whatever it is,
Yeah.
truly locking in
Yeah.
versus blocking out? It's very, very hard to do that. But that is why typically the highest achievers in anything,
Yeah.
sports, anything, business, they are the ones who can handle the moment best and they can lock in their focus.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more with you on that one. And it's something that so many people, if they practice, they keep repeating, they
That's right.
will be able to finally do. And it's, I mean, let's take your own position at the moment. You're going to have those fallible days, aren't you? You're going to have those days when you are not
Sure.
able to. I mean, we're all human, so we can't expect just to always do it. But if we can do it most of the time, then
What you said is right. A phrase I find myself saying a lot, which it's almost funny over the years, but you have to focus on focus. You have to focus on being
yeah,
focused, right?
yeah,
That it does require practice, like anything. It does require reps. It requires quality reps. It
mm,
requires um, the discipline and the habits, which lead to the consistency, which leads to the results. But if
yeah,
there's one thing that I think is most important for anyone and everyone, athletes, musicians, whatever it is understanding that your focus is it's number one. That is what matters most. That is what impacts everything else.
mm,
Um, and you always want to be as narrow as you can.
okay,
So for a lot of people who might say, "Gosh, I can't consistency, or I focus for 5 minutes and then blah blah blah." It's like you just keep narrowing it, right? And you
mm,
don't expand the awareness or add more to your plate
yeah,
until you're locked in, right? Keeping it as narrow as possible.
yeah, for sure. And in our age, of course, in our era that we're living through, it's becoming supposedly more and more difficult because of all the distractions that we are, with social
Yep.
media and everything else. And that's kind of makes it even more important to be aware of that so that
When
you
you say
can.
our age, you mean 28, right? That's what you were talking about.
Yeah, well, I wasn't really talking about our age.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
please
in
trust me.
our, yeah, I know, in our era of,
I I think there are two things about what you just said that I think, yes, social media, and it's, I mean, it's a whole nother topic,
yeah, of
especially
course,
when I have my you know athlete hat on it and everything. But um, you know, as it relates to distractions, something to consider is everything in life, I think, has to fall into one of three buckets. Pick your so whether you're an athlete, a musician, whatever it is. You can either control it, you can impact it, or you have to let it go.
okay,
And for many of us, myself included, uh, one of the challenging parts, I think, is understanding what truly can be controlled versus what can be impacted. And the gray area is that a lot of times the things that we think we can control
mm,
are really not. They're the things we can impact. But the great irony is that in order to have the most amount of impact, the thing you should focus on is only that which you can control.
right,
And the things that you can control are the things that I just said. Your attitude,
yeah,
your belief, you can impact a concert, you can impact a song, you can impact a performance, a game, but you don't have control over that outcome. We're
no,
all chasing outcomes, but the best way to get to those outcomes is the actions and behaviors that when and if you do them, they lead to those outcomes.
exactly. And also that would bring in the idea that, as you said about the focus, narrowing it down, because obviously you can control your daily actions until something comes along to disrupt that,
Yep.
which obviously happens all the time because people that can be, but it's obviously your ability, I can say I can do this and this and this, and I one thing per day that I can control until it's disrupted, but not because I have succumbed to temptation to do something, because it's actually out of my control. Like my good friend's had an accident and needs me to take them to hospital. That's out of my control at that moment. These
Yeah.
sorts of things. But things that you can control, we can do. We can certainly work on our health, exercise, we can work on our focus, we can work on our businesses, whatever, and we can control that. We can't control world events. So, these.
Or even typically how sometimes things happen. It doesn't mean that I'm not suggesting that we sit back, put our hands up and say, woe is me, it's going to be what it's going to be. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying though is like the best way to make the best like dessert cake is just follow the ingredients. Like just
Yeah,
add the sugar, like just one by one by one. And where the place you end up
yeah,
is where that cake is.
yeah,
And I think for a lot of younger people, when I'm doing a lot of work with younger people, a challenge that they have um, is acting because of emotion rather than with emotion, right?
yeah,
Like they cannot control the emotion of the minute, of the moment, and the panic sets in, the excitement, the whatever it is. And at that moment, which all of us can control, it's like this idea of, well, what now? Like,
yeah,
right? Like, what now? Like, that really is the ultimate reset, no matter how much panic, pressure, whatever. For a lot of people, I think if you just took a deep breath and said, what now or now what,
yeah,
that takes your focus away from future, past, tomorrow, last week, and
yeah.
puts it into the current moment.
Right, good, very good. And that actually brings us nicely to another question I'd like to ask you on this sort of topic of reset, because when something really goes wrong for people, a mistake or a bad meeting or an off day, how do elite performers reset fast?
I'll answer you. I want to say one thing first. I should have
Okay,
said this maybe
please.
earlier. So many people, I'm sure you do this a lot too in your work. I speak to a lot of people where, they might be expressing a challenge or something that they don't like or that they want to change, whatever it is. And I always ask them, well, help me understand what success means. Like if it's an athlete to play well, help me understand what does that mean
Mm,
for a CEO, and help me understand what that means. And you would be surprised. I certainly was when I started asking people how many are unable to answer that question. They don't even have a concept of it. And
right.
I'm not bashing them or anything, but
Yeah.
so right out of the gate, it's very hard to celebrate success, to even know, was this a mistake? Like, are we still on course? How do we celebrate success? If we can't even define the direction, like no
Right.
other part of our life would we do
Yeah.
that. You wouldn't get into a car and just start randomly driving, right? Like I would say, where are we going? Like there has to be a destination.
Yeah.
Um, so for a lot of people, before we even get to like the reset, I think we have to establish, well, I don't know what it means for you, but what is all of fill in the blank for? What would it mean if it's going well? Because
Yeah.
what you're saying is this mistake or something that's totally rocked you or thrown you way off course. I don't know if that's a mistake or if that's just part of the daily life, but
Yeah.
so we got to know where we're going.
Right.
Um, but from a reset thing, it's now what now? Like you have to make this current moment the most important. And I think that's the easiest place to start for so many people is you are where your feet are.
Right. Yeah. And so that, I mean, I've read on your website and I've listened to you a little bit. I tend to do my research on my guests. And you mentioned something there about a refocus loop. Um, is that some sort of reset routine or something? Is that
Yep,
just,
yep.
yeah,
So a lot of people, some will refer to it, in many different ways, but essentially it's some sort of trigger, a word, a physical action, a thought, something that it's not about like talking yourself off of a ledge, but it is about getting yourself to right now,
okay,
right? You reset, you get your feet back under you, you are controlling your emotions, and that's the only way that you can then kind of refocus the
yeah,
next action. It's impossible though to jump from the emotional swing of being out of control to reset or refocused, right? Like we have to go through
yeah,
that kind of ground zero. And I think what you see, what's a common trait in the DNA of all high performers is they really don't spend too many minutes while in the moment thinking about consequences of actions. They just act. They just compete. They just participate.
Is that a positive thing though? Because
Absolutely.
oh, okay, all right, interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like for a lot of athletes, we say play the play, not the consequence. I have no idea what's going to happen. You don't either.
Yeah,
These, what if it doesn't work out? What if I fall? What if I get cut from the team? I'm all for playing the what if game, but if your brain can only handle so many thoughts,
yeah,
why wouldn't we play it into the other direction? Or what if it all does work out? What if this is the best game you've ever played? What if
yeah,
there are three scouts here and they, want to sign you to a contract? I don't know.
yeah,
But yeah, playing the play, the moment is the best way to maximize your opportunity. The misconception, though, is that there isn't any thought behind that,
right,
but it's almost like there's so much trust in the actions, there's so much belief in the practice
yeah,
that the next move isn't a reaction, really. It is a response. It's like a trained reaction.
yeah.
That's why the quality of practice matters.
Yeah, and absolutely. The quality of practice is like, well, I liken it to performing, on the trumpet, or any instrument. If you keep the repetition, you have that sort of sense. It's automatic. There's automaticism there in everything you do. But another thing you mentioned as well, which I really love, this idea that's been espoused by somebody called James Hewitt, who's a British author, as well as somebody who looks at high performers, and
Yeah,
he
behavioralist.
translates that, yeah, into what goes on. So this connection between the high performing in sport, as well as obviously high performing in your daily life and building in rest time, etc., all those sorts of
Yep.
things. When in your own work, do you, because your most of your experience in the past originally would have been, or even now would be, with more with athletes, or would it have been more with people in the boardroom, or you,
Over the past probably 4 years, it's been a ton in the business world. I
okay,
absolutely love that. But up until that point, I mean, it's when my playing career was over. I mean, I spent a lot of years with professional athletes on this topic specifically. I was trying to determine what was it that was truly making it where some would make it and others wouldn't. And really, the it was maximizing their potential, right?
yeah,
Because at that level, everybody is a high performer. Talent
mm,
matters, of course, but I think the talent is overrated. I think talent can move the needle, but mindset is what moves the mountain, right?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, a lot of time with athletes, but a good amount of time with executives as well.
I love this idea of the transferable skills as well. If I look at the high performance element, obviously within the world of music, but also in the world of tennis, I'm a massive tennis fan.
Me
And
too. Me
oh,
too.
really? Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me too.
that's my choice sport that I'll go
Yeah.
and watch as much as possible. I'll expect I've been
Yeah.
to Wimbledon several times, and but
That's such a, that's in my top five dream. Going to
oh
Wimbledon is in my top five.
oh really?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
It was
fantastic.
amazing.
I haven't been since that 2001, and I went a couple of times in the 80s as well. So I'm old school for that, but I watch any of the all the Grand Slams all the time. But
Yeah.
if you take those top performers in there, then the difference is it's mindset really. It's
I'm telling you that is again, it's easier because everybody I think can relate, to athletes and
yeah,
something that they see on TV. But yeah, I mean, did you watch the Sinner Alcaraz match over the weekend or something? I think maybe Monte Carlo, whatever it was.
yeah,
I mean, these
yeah.
matches are hours and
Yeah,
hours, right?
I
And
know.
it's like same thing with golfers. What makes those people, of course, it's their skill. I'm not saying the talent doesn't matter. What really separates those people from like all of the other people on the planet is their ability to master their focus,
Yeah,
and their mindset.
yeah,
That
exactly.
is it.
Yeah, that is the distinguishing
Unshakable,
thing feature. Yeah,
unbeatable, unbreakable.
yeah,
Um, I think the exciting part is that it is in there for so many people.
yeah,
Being able to master that, who knows how it shakes out, but well, there is so much more that I think, are in control of than we really know.
yeah,
It's just trusting and living by that code of this is what we can control, this is
yeah,
what we can't.
yeah, absolutely. On that sort of topic, do you have any sort of? I want to get down to sort of really practicality, if possible. Is there a sort of 30 to 60 second reset routine that people can steal from you today? Anything that you have?
What I would say, yeah, it's what I was saying earlier. I don't care what the situation is. Anytime you feel your emotions
Oh, you mentioned,
starting to
sorry, you
take
mentioned the
over.
word. You
Yeah.
mentioned a word or a phrase people could, not a
Yep.
specific
Yep.
one, but it could be that
Yeah.
it would be personal to somebody in particular. Would you be able to reveal a word or phrase that somebody else might use, not your own one, for example? But
Yeah, yeah. Well, so what a lot of professional athletes, when in that moment, they revert back to the concept of I am, I can, I do. Right? They personalize it, and it's I am whatever, I can whatever, and you just go on and on with that. And the benefit of that repetition is that it is pulling your brain into this current moment. And it's a difference between reminding versus convincing. When we get stressed or panicked, it's human nature to go into convincing mode. We're trying to build ourselves back up
yeah,
rather than just reminding ourselves of who we are and what we have already done.
yeah,
So it could be now what now. Those are big ones for me in my athletic life. I was big with the hands. I would kind of rub my palms. I would do something that my
mm,
brain knew about
yeah,
that had me resetting, and it was almost like closing that gap and
mm.
just getting it as tight and as narrow as possible. So I tell people all the time, get narrow,
Good. That's
get
fascinating.
narrow.
You say that because I did a mindfulness course, a couple of years ago, and it was called PQ reps. You probably haven't heard of it because it's quite obscure, but it was one of the things. It's positive quotient. I think that's what it stands for. But there was one of the where you would rub your fingers and you were just in
Yep.
that mind at that very moment, and
Yep.
auditory ones where you would listen to things that are far or near, and visual ones as well, and it would just get you into that state where you could block everything out and you would focus on something just to get you in the moment. So I
You see
guess
it a
there would
lot
be,
with athletes if they ever show like the bench or whatever, maybe guys or gals drinking water or putting water on their face, or messing with their equipment, or scratching or something. They're For a lot of them, they have visual, or excuse me, physical cues and actions that all they're trying to do again is not get dialed in, they're trying to crack the chain of being out of control, right? Like that's number one. You have got to get control. You don't have to fix the issue in the next millisecond, but you do have to get into the current moment. You cannot be tomorrow, next day, next hour. I don't care what it is, public speaking, being on the biggest, being in the World Cup or running a marathon. Like
Yeah.
you have to get right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting you just mentioned the marathon because I recall years ago seeing I can't remember who it was, but he was like in the top three of a major marathon, and he kept on tucking and untucking his shirt, and
That's right. That's
it
right.
was this like little tick. And I thought
Yep.
he's doing that some sort of he must be in real pain, but possibly that's a way of resetting and distracting, and I wondered what the technique was, but now that would feed into what you're just saying.
Some sort of control mechanism that again, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be what would work for everyone, but it does have to be something, an action, a deal that you make with yourself, the thought of a word that you have to be fair to yourself, though, that if you say that word or think that thought or do that physical action, that you are agreeing that you are making right now matter. You're not still in the consequence of whatever happened or what you want to happen. So that does require, like you said, that requires discipline. It requires practice. But I think that's the difference between like habits and routines. I think a lot of times when what we want are habits, they're really just routines. Like there hasn't been enough time yet. There's not enough discipline yet.
No, because that routine would have to keep going and going and going
Yeah,
before it comes to the habit anyway.
that's
So
right.
yeah.
Yep.
I've just got a couple of quick fire questions, and
Sure.
I think I know the answer to the first one because you've already given it, but for the audience to reiterate it. Look, focus, locking in or blocking out.
Yeah, locking in
Yeah.
times 1,000. Simon Sinek, right? Simon Sinek.
Oh yeah, I'm a great fan of Simon Sinek.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I mean, he has the greatest. It's the greatest thing for this kind of topic, is the quintessential. Like the brain can't process negatives, right? So it's like if I say to you right now, don't think about an elephant. Of course, you just thought about an elephant,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
Right. That we all do. So, but how many times in athletics or at a job or something, we think we are trying to do ourselves a solid by saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Don't be nervous. Don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Don't this, don't that. That's not how the brain works, right? That's the don't think about an elephant. So if you want to think
Yeah.
about a tiger,
Don't think about splitting that note in that
that's right.
Handel's Messiah because you're going to
That's
split
exactly
it.
right. Yeah, but we've all done that, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God, I'm going to mess up or blah, blah. Well, you're almost inviting yourself to be in that moment, and then you're trying to claw your way out of it
Yeah.
versus.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm a lock-in fan.
Yeah, great. Biggest mindset myth holding people back.
That confidence is you said it. People think that confidence is a feeling. It's not. It's a choice. It's
Okay.
a choice.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's good, and that's something which everybody can take away for sure.
Yep.
And mental reps. What's the simplest version anyone could start today? The simplest version that you would say.
Yeah, I would say establish some standards, not expectations. I would say establish standards for yourself or remind yourself what your standards are. Standards and expectations are not the same thing.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the best of the best, they deal in a world of standards. That's just what they do, who they are. So I think if people are trying to get in control of their mindset, I always think establish what do you want, what do you believe in, and identify for yourself like what won't you tolerate.
Yeah. Brilliant.
You
No,
know?
that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Sandy, if people want to get in touch with you because they love what you hear, and I'm sure there's so much to that is worth listening to and worth finding out
Thank you.
about. I know that you've got a few books out as well, 3 books, and the 99 Rules series as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
which is
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of your setup.
I have they can all on sandycohan.com. All the speaking information is there.
Brilliant.
Love doing that. Love trying to have as much impact as I can. Yep, there's those three books are out. Got a fourth one coming out in about 3 weeks. It's called Find a Way: How to Move Forward When Everything Falls Apart.
Gosh,
Yeah, looking forward to that.
you're prolific.
I don't know about that. I don't know
It's
about that.
fourth book. Good heavens.
You know what though? You know what? The first book I wrote, it was called 99 Rules Every Athlete Needs to Know.
Yeah.
And quick, easy to get through. I was not a huge reader when I was younger, but this is the type of book I would have wanted to have read. It's very straightforward. They're kind of like locker room sort of thoughts with like like a punch line at the end. You can earmark it to any page. Then it went into 99 rules every sports parent needs to know.
Yeah.
Then it was 99 rules to be unshakable under fire.
Yeah.
It's kind of a crossover book. But there's a lot of failing in a lot of that. So I don't know if it's prolific or gritty and resilient, which I think is probably like the best quality. I think for high performers.
Well, you've sold it to me. I'm gonna get the. I've already checked it out on Amazon. I'm gonna get the first one of that series. I'm putting that down as my little present to myself. 99.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no,
nice.
because I you've sold it to me now because I love the idea of short, sharp things. I did a wellness guide of 36 tips, which I took from some of the guests as well.
Yep.
And that for me, if you get intermingle it with stories or whatever, it really works. And it's just something you can read a bit and put it down, read a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you spin it, stop whatever page you come to. There's something that's going to be taken out of there. Yeah. So, and that's why I tried to craft it like that they were impact things,
Yeah, good.
So yeah, that's great.
Actually, yeah, that sounds a bit like Robin Sharma. He wrote a book, eighth forms of wealth or something, and he numbered them all.
Yeah.
And it's great because that number 67 was fantastic.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
That's a good idea.
So because there's been three of them, right? Sometimes it depends on the audience, where like a parent or a business person might say, I loved Rule 47. Like, what was it again? And I'm like, which book? Like, which one are you talking? Like, which book? There's like three.
Well, you got a photographic memory.
Yeah, no. I wish I did. Yeah, they're like, I think sometimes they get disappointed. I say, just tell me which book are we talking about? Okay, now I can get in the realm of it. But
okay, great. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, Sandy. And if there's anything I'd like to take away, this is my little outro here. Train your mind like a skill, not a feeling. And that's small daily mental reps which build focus, confidence, and the ability to perform well, because this actually counts. And that's what I would say. So thank you so much, Sandy, for being on the show. And I shall bid you farewell. And we'll be in touch in the future. Great. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye. That was such a great conversation. Sandy really delivered today. And honestly, this one really resonated with me. As someone who's spent years thinking about performance, whether that's through music or more recently wellness, or just simply showing up when life gets a bit messy, what really hit home was this: confidence isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you build through belief, through reps, and through remembering what you've already done well. And that idea of not trying to block everything out, but instead locking in on what matters most, that is gold. Because busy professionals, athletes, musicians, whatever your chosen arena, pressure often shows up when we drift too far into the what ifs. So Sandy's reminder was powerful. Come back to now. Focus on what you can control. Narrow it down. Lock in. For me, this wasn't just another guest episode. This was one of those conversations that sharpens your mindset immediately. So here's the takeaway. Train your body like you train any skill. Build belief first. Focus on focus. And when pressure hits, ask yourself, now what? Thanks so much for joining me on Busy Pro Fast Wellness. And remember, small daily reps can create massive results when it matters most. Goodbye for now.